Once upon a time. Welcome to Australian Book Lovers, your destination for imagination.
Australian Book Lovers acknowledges First Nations peoples and recognises their continuous connection to country, community and to culture. We pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging, and honour the sharing of traditional stories passed down through generations. We're committed to a safe and inclusive welcome for authors and readers of all cultures and backgrounds, including people of LGBTQIA+ communities and their families. A big warm welcome to everyone and a huge thank you for joining us for the Australian Book Lovers podcast. Our mission is to bring fabulous Australian and Indigenous literature that spans a whole range of genres to book lovers around the globe, as well as fantastic resources and information for passionate authors looking to write their next bestseller. I'm Veronica Strachan, aka VE Patton, which also means that that's my pen name, just in case people wondered why I do say that, also known as fantasy, sci-fi, memoir and picture book writer, voracious reader of many genres. I'm up to, I think, about 121 books for this year, which is pretty fabulous.
You are making me feel guilty.
But I listen to a lot as I'm driving, and I do a lot of driving. I am your founder and co-host, coming to you today from the absolutely glorious Wurundjeri Woiwurrung country up here in the Macedon Ranges. Welcome to episode 128.
Which is amazing. I've done quite a few now. I'm stoked about that. Yes. And I am Laurie Bell, science fiction and fantasy author, blogger, short story and flash fiction story writer, and also your co-host for today, coming to you also from Wurundjeri Woiwurrung country. And it is nice, except for it's really sweaty and horrible and it's muggy and...
Well, that's true.
Yeah, the house has been like that for a few days since the heat wave of earlier last week.
Yes. It's a kind of an odd, it's a tumultuous season as we kind of move into what is, you know, if we look at the traditional calendars, the craziness, summer, but yeah, it's not great. But anyway, we have started to put Christmas lights. I don't know if you are Griswold Christmas light kind of people, but we have got ours started.
Not outside. And because of the kiddies this year, we've got the tree so far.
Right.
And we're waiting to see how the kiddies go with the tree before we start stocking up with all the sparkly doodads and things that will bounce and break and all those sorts of things. Tinsel. I'm expecting there to be a lot of tinsel all over the floor. So... Yes. So far, they have tried to eat the tree 3 times.
Okay.
They're only little mouse, but
yes,
they're working on it.
Ours do like to try and take the low-hanging fruit, so usually we let them do that, and then once we've worked out how far they're prepared to reach, well, then we leave the rest and just keep putting them up higher.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea. Well, this is our first year with the little mouse, so we have no idea how they're going to go with it.
It will be fun. It will be fun. Yeah. All right. So because it is the looming festive season, I'll just say the looming, not everybody celebrates Christmas, but lots in Australia do for various reasons celebrate the festive season is what I like to call it. And so we kind of thought we'd do a little bit of a wrap or a little bit of a all about us and all about the year and where we're at and just,
too self-indulgent, maybe a little bit, but we'll see.
Yes,
we'll see how we go.
It does feel a little bit self-indulgent, but
it
you know
does. What? But as I was pointing out to V before, I don't think we've heard an interview with the lovely Veronica Strachan before. So we'll have to delve in and get some questions in about your current works, because I don't think we've got too much all about you.
No, I did have a lovely chat to all the people up in Sydney with the Sydney Authors Int, which was challenging being on the other end of the
How did that go from that point of view? How did you go with that? Being the interviewer turned interviewee.
Yeah, it did take me a little while to warm up. I will admit that I took me a little while to go, okay, they really want to hear about me instead of the other way around. But it was lovely. Maria was a fabulous interviewer, and she
Right.
certainly put me at my ease, and she was prepared, and she'd done her research. So it was lovely to talk about really the books that for me are now a while ago, and how I started and all of that. So yeah.
Well, tell us why then were the books a little while ago?
Yeah.
What's been chewing up all of this time, and do you want to get back into writing?
Oh, look, I so want to get back into spending a significant amount of time on writing.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's for me, for a long time, I just had to write. I had
Mm-hmm.
spent decades doing non creative writing
Mm-hmm.
because you can't call reports creative writing,
Work,
really.
yeah, no, no,
So, technical
no.
reports and
Yep.
uh, academic articles and all of those kind of things. So it took me quite a long time to get to the point where I wanted to do creative writing.
Mm-hmm.
And as is always the way, I think, well, I'll learn a bit before I begin. And so I looked for a coach,
Mm-hmm.
and I asked a few people about writing coaches. And at that stage, I was running my own business, and there was a great group called Business Chicks, and there were lots of um, women of all businesses all over the country who were involved in that. And there was a great network, and somebody remembered Megan Della Camina, who was a writing coach doing some work. She was up in Sydney, and I ended up doing a session with her. And I said, I want to write a fantasy trilogy. It's been my dream since whatever, and I need to begin. She said, okay, what have you
Mm.
written? What are you writing at the moment? And I said, well, just to kind of get into practice,
Mm-hmm.
I was transcribing journals. The journals that I wrote
Ah.
to my second daughter, who sadly died just before she was 5. And I wrote to her during her life, but I also wrote after she died, and it helped me through the grieving process.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, send me something that you've written. And because what I was doing was reflecting on the young woman
Mm-hmm.
20 odd years later and how that felt, well, a bit more than
Wow.
20 actually now. And she said to me, there is magic in there. And I will never forget
Wow.
those words. She said, you have to put that book out in the world. And I said, well,
Mm-hmm.
it was never intended to do it. It was very much just a cathartic,
Internal. Mm.
internal. I felt Jacqueline on my shoulder going, Mum, write my book, Mum, write my book, Mum, write my book, Mum,
Aw.
Mum, write my book, write my book, Mum, write about me, Mum. She was, cheeky, gorgeous creature that she was. So, right, okay, I'll write the book.
Mhm.
And that became Breathing While Drowning.
Wow.
And as part of that, it was when I was running my own business, and I began to do some coaching, which people said,
Mm.
so, well, what will I do? Is I don't want to work for anybody else anymore. And I was looking at, I want to do some stuff that I want to do. And they said, well, you're
Mhm.
really good at coaching. So I did some training, got some qualifications, and started
Mhm.
coaching. And as part of that, I not only wrote Breathing While Drowning, but I then wrote a workbook journal, which was all of the things that helped me work my way through grief and find my way back into life.
Mm. Okay.
And so that's the accompaniment, which is the Wholeness Quest workbook and journal, based on the 10 signposts of the heroine's journey. For
Oh,
me, the heroine's journey
wow.
is quite different from the hero's journey, which John,
Mhm.
what's his name? What's his name? Joseph Campbell's
Joseph Campbell. Yep.
hero's journey, which
Mm.
when he was asked by this woman who created or formulated the heroine's journey,
Mm.
she said to him, what about the heroines? And he
Mm.
said, well, they don't need a journey. That's where everybody's trying to get to. All the heroes are trying to get there. And she said, well, that doesn't work for
That's
women.
interesting. It's an interesting
Interesting.
view.
So she was
Yeah.
very disappointed.
Mm.
She
Here,
did a
here.
lot of work in the social sciences and
Mhm.
counseling and family and psychology and all of those kind of things. So the heroine's journey was written by a woman called Maureen Murdoch. And when I read that book, it's a little different to the hero's journey because
Mhm.
women often will feel the need to go into the cave, to actually spend time alone, to spend
Mhm.
time in the dark, to let themselves be held, or like emotionally, not
Mhm.
necessarily
Mhm.
physically, or energetically, or whatever you like to say. and they can then, when they choose, step out to re-engage and those kind of things. And it's quite a different journey in some
Yeah.
parts of it. Yeah. So there's the call to, return and the joining of the masculine. And I won't go into it, but it's a great book to read,
Okay.
The Heroine's Journey. And for me, when I read the chapter about going into the cave and grieving, and you can stay there as long as you want,
Mm.
that was when I thought, okay, I'm finished now.
Oh, wow.
I can
Really?
step out. It's my choice to
Mm-hmm.
decide how long I want to grieve, how long I want to hold Jackie really close to my heart, and how long I want to let that be the first filter, I guess, in my
Mm-hmm.
life.
Mm-hmm.
And
Interesting.
yeah, from then on,
Yeah.
I just felt that I wasn't grieving any less, but I had a place for her that allowed me to live,
Mm-hmm.
step back into life a lot more joyfully, all of those kind of things. So yeah, so that was Breathing While Drowning, and the Wholeness Quest. That's where that one came
That
from.
kicked everything off for you.
It did. It did.
Wow.
And then, of course, Megan issued the challenge. She says,
Yeah.
I don't think you'll do that fantasy book. I think you've got more other, continue.
Ooh,
I
yeah,
thought,
yeah.
no,
Gauntlet thrown.
whoa,
Gauntlet thrown.
there's fighting words. So, of course, then I immediately started on my fantasy
Mhm, mhm.
book. So,
Is that a
yeah.
part of the heroine's journey as well? The whole
Yeah.
I need to prove you wrong.
Yes, yes, meeting ogres and dragons along the way. And look, I love dragons. I've always loved
Yeah.
dragons.
Yep.
So, yes, that was
So Ochre Dreaming.
Opal Dreaming, and
Opal Dreaming, sorry. Yep.
and the Ochre Dragon that was the first book.
Yes. Yes. And that I absolutely loved. And so interesting point. So
Mm.
you've got three heroines in that story. Three,
Yes,
three lead, three point of view. Did you
yes,
always intend it to be three point of view?
absolutely not.
Was it that did you focus on the three women concept, the mother maiden crone?
Absolutely not. But then
Really?
that's what it became.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because we
absolutely.
say
That's
we
what I loved
write what
about
we
it.
know, and that's
Hmm.
what comes through. So when I wrote Ochre Dragon, gee,
Hmm.
I went along to a little course and I did a writing retreat with a beautiful
Oh,
fellow called Tom Bird, an American fellow. He was just lovely, and it poured out of me in,
wow.
yeah, really, it was only about 10 weeks. It wasn't that long. It just went bleh.
Hmm.
And then we had to send in for what he calls a soul read, and he has a little bit of read, and he
Oh.
goes, "There's too much book here. This is more than one book. I want you to take the first third
Oh,
and write the book from that." Oh, okay. So I did
wow.
that, and then I said that, and he goes, "Too much again. You are too generous in what you're giving. There's too much story in this. You need to
Mm.
let it develop further.
Hmm.
First third, cut that out and do it again." So
So
by
how
the
did you
time,
feel about that?
wow, because I had faith in him and he's
Hmm.
published lots of books, I thought, okay,
All right.
damn it, but okay.
Yeah.
And after each time that happened, I'd sit there for a while and go, oh, I really
Hmm.
thought I had half a book here. I thought that was pretty
Hmm.
good. But no, I've got too much book. So,
Wow.
start again. So each time it's come, which is why it's now a series.
Mm.
But the first, I guess what I had as an epilogue
Hmm.
is almost the basis for the first book and then became the
Oh.
end of the first book,
Oh,
where
interesting.
the through the portal she
Yeah.
goes without any
Yep.
spoilers.
Yep.
And then it became that the voices that were coming out, the young person, the
Hmm.
young maiden mother crone, it,
Yep.
it just became that I needed all of those voices to tell a
Hmm.
story.
Mm.
And I wanted to hear the voice of the crone, because I was stepping into being a crone and accepting, not only accepting, but
Awesomeness. Awesome crone.
awesomeness.
Yes.
Yeah, but embracing the
Mm.
crone and
Mm.
going, you know what, I don't care what people are saying about me. I don't care
Yeah.
what they say about my
Been there, done
writing.
that.
I don't care about whatever. I'm going to do all the things I want. Hence, start Australian Book Lovers.
Mm.
Run my own business, hence just
Yes.
work with the people I want to work with, and
Yep.
do some writing. And yes, get that damn fantasy trilogy happening.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, tell me a bit about the writers' workshop then before, because I want to come back to Australian book lovers and how that all began, because I would love to know. I've never heard that story. So,
Yeah.
but with the writers' workshop, so you've got your dream book. How, how did you even go about what did the writers' workshop sort of teach you with? Did you learn plotting? Did you outline
No,
what
completely different. It was
what came
like
up?
an energetic workshop where
Oh.
he wants you just to tap into the voice that's telling you the story. So
Oh.
you just sit down and write. And what he would do is he would get you into a little bit of a meditative state. I can't remember I think it might have been maybe 30 people. And let me
Mhm.
just say we were in Hawaii.
Oh,
It was really
excuse
good.
me.
It was really
Excuse
good.
me. Wow.
It
Yeah,
was
that would put me
fantastic.
into a very
Yep,
zen, relaxed
yep,
frame of
yep, yep.
mind.
So he would get you in the right frame of mind, and then he would just say, just start writing. So a
Wow.
little bit like the morning pages that
Hmm.
is it Cameron that does it?
Uh,
Yeah, I'm
yes.
thinking all of that.
Yes.
But anyway, writing
Oh.
morning pages. Yeah, we're
Hmm.
being
Hmm.
terrible here, but
Yep.
we'll think of it. Um, and just write and just have some quiet music in the background. Don't look at anybody else. Just
Hmm.
look at the page. Just keep typing. Even if you're writing, this is a blood crock of
Oh,
rubbish.
really?
This is rubbish, rubbish, rubbish.
So
But then
fluid writing.
just fluid writing. Just stream
Hmm.
of consciousness. Let it
Yep.
go, and then it starts to create a story on its own.
Wow.
So most people by the end of the first day we started to get some bits and pieces because you would
Hmm.
do, chunks of here there, and then we do other bits and pieces with you and talk about stories and that kind of thing. But mostly it was giving you that safe space
Hmm.
to write and to believe in yourself that you had something there. So I did it with my husband came over and another friend,
Okay.
and she ended up writing a story about a middle grade. It ended up being about dragons, which was interesting.
Oh,
Hubby wrote a war story. The hilarious thing is that he doesn't read. He likes Airplane magazine. He likes quizzes.
do you
And that.
mean
He
your
does
man's
not
like my
read
man,
books.
that he
Yep,
does not read books at
does
all?
not read books at all.
IT, all focused with his IT and his tech and his fancy stuff, not a book. It's wow. This is why we connect.
That's
Yeah.
it. Kindred souls, someone to talk books about.
That's right.
Their partners don't understand us. Yeah, so we did that, and then of course the old fraudster stepped in and
Hmm.
said, "You can't write this. You've got no idea how to write this." And I kept stumbling over all of
Oh
the blocks
no.
and all of the fraud things.
Oh, darn
And
imposter syndrome. It is
darn
the
imposter syndrome.
worst.
Yes.
Yep.
Lots of people were writing more memoir stuff,
Okay.
but I'd done that. I
Yep.
had released Breathing While Drowning. And he said, no, no, you said you're finished with that.
Mm.
Write what you want to write. And then in the end, he said, you know what's missing? You're not letting them tell the story. So he made me stop trying to write the story, and he
Mm-hmm.
said, pick a character. And he gave me some questions for that character to respond to. And he said, just write about the character. So it was, oh, I should have remembered what they were, but it's like, if you were a road, ask your
Mm-hmm.
character, if you were a road, where would you lead to and why?
Ooh,
Interesting.
interesting.
And if you were an animal, bird, or fish, what
Mm-hmm.
would you
What
be
kind?
and
Yep, yep.
why? And there was a third one, which I
Mm.
can't remember. But what it gave is rather than, age, race,
All the
height, whatever
basics. Yep,
that,
yep.
it actually stepped right into the character
Mm.
so they could tell me, oh, and what was the event that most changed your life? That was the third
Mm-hmm.
one.
Okay.
So, then it gave you kind of that moment where you could go, okay, this is what happened to
Mm.
you. You were thrown through the
Yep,
again. I can't,
yep,
again, no
yep.
spoilers.
Spoilers.
Uh,
You need to have a little buzzer sound that comes up at
that's
that point.
it. Yes. So he wouldn't let me start writing the story until I'd done
Mm.
the three characters or however many characters who told me they needed to be in this story.
Wow.
So that was incredibly powerful. And I ended up
Mhm.
writing, probably 5 or 10,000 words about each of those characters. And then he said, okay, start writing the story. And that's when it just did the whole 6 weeks, blah, just
Yep.
poured out. And I would get up at
Wow.
the crack of dawn every morning and just hammer it away. And there was some people on Facebook, and there was then became sort of 6 a.m. Oz writers and that kind of thing. And away I went. It was there.
So how have you found then the writing community around your writing? Because obviously you had the memoir there, a couple of writer workshops, writing what you do, putting down the new story. But then what? What's the next step for you? Did you choose to pitch? Did you choose to query? Did you choose to just sit on it? Did you choose the self-publishing early?
I was a complete novice, which for somebody at the age of, I think, 56 when I wrote the first one was a worry, because I was really good at my job. Yeah. I've been in health for a long time.
Yeah.
35 years I've done, run my own business, blah, blah, run hospitals, etc. So to come back and go, I know nothing about the writing community. I don't know how books get published. I just love to read them. And I went to a Hay House conference, I think. Up in Sydney, and they were offering it was up in Sydney, and they were offering a publishing contract, because you could apply and that kind of thing, with Hay House. Wayne Dyer. Yeah, lots of people would have heard, really inspirational, motivational person. So I didn't win the thing because what was I thinking? I had this lot of raw draft of Breathing While Drowning. But of course, they had a couple of hybrid publishers there who, it wasn't the best experience of my life. Let's just say it was a little bit of a pay me lots of money and yes, we'll just rip you off and not really offer you any help or editing or anything else. And just throw it out on the web. So that wasn't great. It wasn't a great experience at all. And I won't say, because I don't think they're in existence anymore. And, a few people found them helpful. I found them not helpful at all. Yeah. And not only that, but they hadn't read the book. So they had no sensitivity about the incredible vulnerability that I'd put into the work. And so that was dodgy. Then I thought, right, well, I'll just do this myself. I heard about self-publishing, and that was in the sort of the old days where it was just starting, and Amazon was there, and I did all the formatting and all of those things. And so self-published was the way it went. It never occurred to me to pitch because it takes so freaking long.
Yep.
And I thought, you know what?
It does.
I'm getting on. I can't wait.
And
someone else.
Going from your earlier comments as well, your personality is to do the work, to do the research, to figure it out. So yeah, that does not surprise me at all that would be, what's my next step? What do I learn?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did a few courses, whatever, made it all happen. And bingo. So published Breathing While Drowning, and then moved on to the other one. So there you go.
Oh wow. That's so cool. So all right, when did the idea for Australian Book Lovers?
Right. So Darren Kazenko, as you know, was the co-founder, and this was a Twitter thing. So we were on Twitter, and I think Oz Writes had maybe even just started. It was a fabulous writing community. Yeah. And it was like I'd found my people. Because as we know, our partners now, they're not sort of book people. And even good friends are not as booky people as me.
Well, this is how you and I met.
Yes,
we met online too.
We did. We met so many great people and so supportive. Yeah. And we're chatting about, tell us about your book. And I was Opal dreaming, blah, blah, blah. Of course, Darren is a mad gemstone person, loves the gems and the opals and that kind of thing. And so there was a bit of to and fro about, opal dreaming, I'll have to send you a piece of opal. I thought, you can't send me opal, it's really expensive,
Wow.
No. Anyway, I said, no, you can't do that. Anyway, back and forth. He goes, no, I've got some bits, I'll have to send it to you. And all right. I thought, bloody hell, what's this bloke doing, sending me stuff? Is this weird? I've just given him my address. Is that a really bad thing?
What am I doing?
But it wasn't, because he is one of the gentlest, kindest, most compassionate souls that I have ever met, and he's lovely. Anyway, we were talking then about what happens if it gets lost, and
Mhm.
you know, that's an adventure, and then we should write a book together. Yeah. And I said, look, you know, there's so many great Oz writers, and we were chatting about it. Wouldn't it be great if we, you know, did it? And he said, well, we could do a website. That's easy. We could,
Mhm.
because I had told him I was doing the Australian Women's Writers Challenge, which was on
Mhm.
Goodreads.
Yep.
Some fabulous bodies on there again, which is trying to read and review more Australian women's writers.
Mhm.
And I said, not only that, but then there's Ozrights happening. And I said, if you try and Google or look at on Amazon or any of the big places, there's no immediate
Yeah.
Australian writers
Yeah.
pop up, so you
Yep.
can't see that. And he said, well, we could do the website. So then I think actually he came up with the Australian Book Lovers, like we tossed a few back and forth, and said what we
Mm.
wanted to do. And that was that. Australian Book Lovers was born. And then I love chatting to people. The coaching
Mhm.
is just part of my
Mhm.
blood. I've done community radio, I've done public speaking,
All the
and
workshops.
all the workshops. So
Yep.
facilitation is the other half of my coaching, which we do.
Mhm.
And I said, well, let's chat to people. It's easy enough to put a podcast up. So initially Darren was doing all the tech stuff, because I
Mhm.
did say at that time, I've already got 5 websites. This is my website. I'm not bad on social media. I'll do Twitter, you do the others. And we're
Mhm.
kind of you know, doing those sort of bits and pieces. We worked out
Okay.
what suited us. And yeah, that's how
You went with your
Australian
strengths.
book, yes, Australian Book Lovers was
Yeah.
born.
Wow. Well, there you go. See, I've never heard that story, so it is so
There
wow.
you
I'm sure
go.
so many listeners out there and now watchers, if you're joining us on YouTube, um, we've all been fascinated with how it's all come about because from a simple beginning with the website,
Mm.
how many authors are now on this website? There are
So many.
hundreds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think there's 500 plus books that we have, and nearly that many authors.
Hmm.
Of course, some people have
Hmm.
multiples. We've got, what are we up to, 128? It'll be 4 years in February that we've been going.
Wow.
This year alone, we've done, I think 27. Yeah, I think we're up to
Hmm.
28 episodes. So we're averaging a couple a month or a bit more.
Yep.
And, you know, we're trying to
Amazing.
mix it up with the writers' rooms and that kind of thing. So,
Mm.
you know, we've talked about more than the people that we interview. And I love spotlighting the books, and then we try and put them
Yes.
on social
Well,
media
the
as
biggest thing I
well.
hear from all the people that we interview is that it's so wonderful that the website and the podcast are pushing Australian authors and Australian writers,
Yes.
and
Yes.
because as you say, there you can't, if you throw in Google, give us all the Australian writers, you might get two or three
Yeah.
that will pop up, but there's so many more, and it is a giant hybrid mix of
Yes.
self-published writers and traditional writers, and all the traditionals tend to pop up more overseas than they do here
Mm.
because the market is not as big.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, we always get really good compliments on what the website is doing for Australian authors and for Australian writers, and hopefully helping the readers out there find new books.
Yes. So many books to choose from of,
Mm,
yeah, of all genres, which is fantastic.
mm, mm.
It's also given me a broader reading selection because I was
Yeah.
pretty much stuck on fantasy and sci-fi with the occasional crime, but now like the crime, the thriller, and those kind of things. It's, you
Oh,
know,
you're genre
some
shifting, are you?
genre shifting a little bit. There's the odd contemporary that kind of catches my
Hmm.
eye, a little
Hmm.
bit more horror, which is
Is
probably
that
not something that
Darren's
I've read.
influence?
I think that's probably Darren's influence because I've read his books, and
Oh.
they are just amazing. The Hallucigenia Project, it's a doorstop. It's a
Oh.
cracker. But as you can imagine from listening to him interview people,
Hmm.
his horror is full of deeply esoteric philosophical
Hmm.
challenges and searches, and horror happens around while all this other stuff, the searching, is going on. They're great books. Yeah, so I can't
Yeah.
wait for his the second of his trilogy, which is called Godless. Yeah.
Yes, hopefully he's had a bit more time to actually work on it so we can see it
Yes.
soon. And then we
Yes, he
can interview
promised.
him.
Yes, he promises he'll talk to us early next year.
Good. Excellent.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. What an amazing journey that's all been. And it's I understand that need to, I wish I was doing what I want to do rather
Yeah.
than the day-to-day work that you do, that you trudge through thinking I would rather be doing anything else, and that anything else is writing. So
Yeah.
I absolutely get that. So what a dream to be able to move into your own business.
Yeah. definitely
do what
a
you
fun.
really like to do.
Yeah, and it certainly gave me the flexibility to do the hours and things that I want. And often you'd have a few months where you just were flat chat, but getting that discipline of getting out and the support of groups like the 6 a.m. Oz Riders who were just brilliant,
Yeah.
and Ozrites who
And Ozrights.
celebrated,
Yeah, that's where
all
I
of the
came in.
Australian
I
writing
came
and that
in
kind of
on,
thing.
yeah, I came
Yeah,
in on hashtag Ozrights,
yeah,
and I know we've tried to kick it back a few times because it's passed away a few times and managed to drag itself back to life a few
yes,
times as well. But yeah, the online community, particularly with, I guess maybe it's the whole Australia's such a big, wide flat land, so to speak, big wide land. There's so much space between us. It's more online that we can all gather because it's a
that's
bit
it.
harder to just gather
Yeah,
in
and time
in
zones
person.
and all of those kind of
Yeah,
things. Yeah,
yeah,
but yeah,
exactly.
Beck Langham and then Kevin Clare,
Kevin Clare, yep.
just good on them for their putting it together and their
Oh
resilience and persistence in supporting people, because
yeah.
it does take a lot to keep a group like that going. And
Yeah.
look, people jumped in and it was just fantastic. And I just thought, yeah,
Because
great.
we were doing little prompts every day, every second
Yes,
day.
and then every second day, yeah,
Yeah, and it really brought all of us together
yeah,
as a group with, and I think a lot of new writers, but also just in general, writers that have been going for a bit and just needed that pick me up, that keep me
mm,
going, that why am I doing it? Why am I putting myself through this all? And just keep us all going with that little burst of creativity as well. And it
yeah.
did really build a bit of a community.
It
So there's
certainly
probably
did,
a lot
yeah,
of readers and, oh, sorry, a lot of listeners to the podcast that may have even been on board in those early days
yeah,
online
definitely.
as well.
Yeah, yeah. It is a great community. I've found the
Mm.
writing community incredibly generous
Hmm.
with their time and I wish that I'd tapped into them before I went down that hybrid. And I know lots of hybrids are great,
Mm.
hybrid press and hybrid
But
processes,
quite a
but
few of them are
quite a few
predatory.
of them are dodgy and predatory. And
Mm.
unfortunately, I was predated upon.
Well,
So
and that's the
yeah,
thing because there's no one-stop shop of here are your steps for getting published. There's no here, do this, follow this step, do this, and this will happen. It is very much a individual journey for everyone. Everyone comes in at different levels, different speeds, different skill sets.
yes,
And yeah, do they have the motivation to do the self-publish? Because you have to learn everything, or
you
at
do.
least find that community around you that have those skills. So
Yes,
finding
yes,
your editors, finding your book cover designers.
absolutely. Yeah,
So yeah, no, it's really interesting. So with book two then.
yeah.
So when did book one come out? What was the year?
Okay, let me just check. I'll just look at the cover of Ochre Dragon, which I'll put up. And in fact, 2019. Okay, that's pretty crappy, isn't it?
Okay, that's not too bad. When did you start writing?
Probably 2016, maybe.
Okay, that's not too bad. Three
Yeah,
years,
yeah,
not too bad from woe
2016.
to go.
Way to
Yep,
go.
yep.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
book two.
Book two. All right. Book two is way harder than book
Mm,
one, because book one
why?
just poured out and I
Mm-hmm.
could make shit up, let's be honest. Of all of that.
Yep.
But then in book two, you got to go, oh, what did I make up in the first one? Where does that
Mm-hmm.
go? How does that fit? So while the first storyline
Mm-hmm.
rolled out really easily, then I found myself tripping up over, oh, that doesn't work, that doesn't work. And then
Mm-hmm.
I went to a few more courses and learned about the 3 act and the 5 act and all those kind of bits and pieces that
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people who structure stories who do their plotting first,
Mm-hmm.
but it just killed my creativity for a long while, because it just went, well, your
Interesting.
book doesn't fit like that. That's not
Mm-hmm.
how it's working. And even Tom Bird's method of 100% emotion, then dropping down to background and then building up and then 100% emotion, all of those things were like, I just want to tell the story. And
Mm-hmm.
it kind of, I felt it really stifled it. So
Okay.
then I had to
Pure pantser.
pure pantser, absolutely pants. I had to go, you know what? That's great
Mm-hmm.
for you.
But yeah.
That's great for you. And
Mm-hmm.
just in the same way that I read Maureen Murdoch's book and everybody else said, oh, you should stop grieving after 2 years or 5 years or 10 years. I thought, no, I can stop grieving when I want to.
Yeah.
I
Never.
gave myself permission. So then I gave myself permission to go, okay, you know what? Just write the book that you want to write. So
Mm,
I stopped color coding and doing all of that, and
mhm.
I just put the book together. So it's now about 150, 156,000 odd words.
Oh, wow.
It's into, I think it's penultimate draft.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm going through the pro-writing aid, getting rid of the filler words,
Yep.
making sure that it sounds okay, and
Mm-hmm.
then I'll read it through one more time. Then I might ask somebody to have a read of it.
Just pointing out that I'm your co-host and I really loved book one and
Thank you.
might be available.
That is, yeah, bloody fabulous. So
Bring it on.
that would be, yeah, one of the beautiful 6 a.m. Oz writers was very
Mm.
kind enough to read sort of probably about the third draft of it, and she just gave me some fantastic feedback, which was
Oh,
really
that's
useful.
good.
So what I
I
loved
think the
about it,
best feedback does come from fellow writers, doesn't it?
yes,
Yeah.
because she was invested in my characters, and she goes,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, I don't think she would do it like that." Because I thought, "Oh yeah, you're
Ah,
right,"
interesting.
and so that was amazing to share the characters and the
Mm,
love of the characters with them, which was great. So
very cool.
it's close. I really wanted it out this year, but the other part of my life
Mm,
has changed. So started my own business, did that for 13 years or so.
mm-hmm.
And then I thought, you know what? I don't want to have to spruik for work anymore. I'm getting
Mm-hmm.
to the point where, I often, as you go in as a consultant, you do a
Mm-hmm.
great piece of work with a great team, but then you leave
Yeah.
and they have to get on with it themselves, or they never really pass it along to their staff, or they do, or their bosses don't like it, or the people at the coalface don't like it. And so
Mm-hmm.
there's that element of it that's not really fulfilling.
Mm-hmm.
And I just said to Ian, look, what I really want
Mm-hmm.
is a half-time job somewhere local, working with people I love in leadership with
Mm-hmm.
flexible working conditions.
Oof, what a shopping list. And
Lo and behold, within a couple of weeks, an ad comes in the paper, in on
you put
the
your wish out. You
online.
put your wish
I
out.
put the wish
Yep.
out. I manifested this wonderful job, working for a CEO that I'd worked with before, although she didn't interview me, in the local health service, which is 5 sites around my area, and they
Lovely.
were looking for someone to develop a leadership program and deliver it. It's like,
Wow. Yeah.
wonderful. So the other half of my life is also
Took off.
incredibly fulfilling. It did. It took off. I've got, and that's the drag for me, is that I love the
Mm.
work that I'm doing with this amazing group. There's 15 people in this first program, and the health service is just so invested in it. It's wonderful.
Mhm.
And that's all of the things that I've learned over my 40 odd years in working in health and leadership and all those kind of things. And then on the other side, I love Australian book lovers. I love chatting with you. We just nerd out on books, and we talk
We
to people
do.
about books, and we go down rabbit holes, and there's all kinds of things. And then, as is my want, I tend to put other people
Mhm.
first. And so my
Yeah.
draft has been a little bit
Yeah.
quiet, just in the
And
background.
I get that, and I think that's partly the reason why Darren stepped back a little bit, so he
It
could
is.
focus on his writing as well.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah,
the thing about writing is it takes time.
it does. It does.
And when you have life going on around us, as we do, I have quite a draining job at the moment, and I think it's you want to be doing this, you have to do this, and then in the middle you're just tired.
Yeah. But we want it all.
We want it all, absolutely.
Yeah.
And also, I think I don't know whether it's writers in general or just you and me in particular with our personality types. It's possible that's all it is. But there is that inability to say no. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
sure, of course, I'll do that. And then you wake up in the morning and it's like, really?
What was I thinking?
Yes.
There is an American woman who has this quiz where she's Gretchen Rubin
Hmm.
is her name, and again she's written books and done some really interesting stuff. And she talks about these 4 groups of
Hmm.
people, where your internal and your external motivation.
Hmm.
So if you're more motivated by external things, uh,
Hmm.
which is me. Like if you ask me to do something, I go, yeah, absolutely, I'll do that for you, Laurie.
Mhm.
Whereas if I say, oh, I really need to do this for myself, but I've got Laurie's thing, I'll do Laurie's thing first.
Yep.
Because I'm more, like that. There are people like my son and another good friend of mine who, so that's obliger. I feel obliged, yeah?
Obliged. Yep.
There are people who are upholders. So internal and external both works for them. So they're able to balance their own needs with the needs of others, and they can drive those brilliantly. There are rebels who don't want to do anything that you suggest that they do. So
I've met him. He's in the other room. It's so irritating.
And the final ones are questioners, where they'll do it if it works for them. Internal and external, same kind of thing. And one of my very best friends is a questioner, and yes, we laugh at each other. But anyway, so what do you do when an upholder, when a rebel, a questioner, and an obliger get into business together, which was another business that I started, which
The
is the
obliger
art
does
of
all the
women's
work.
business. Yeah, pretty much. So I was exhausted, so I said, I'm cutting this. I love you both, but I'm not doing it anymore. So anyway, that's another whole story. So yeah, when you live this long, you got lots of stories. So that's really enough about me.
Oh,
No,
I have to say, I hope all the listeners and the watchers have gotten as much out of this as I have, because this has been fantastic. I love getting to be able to talk about you and how you've got to where you are. It's been really interesting. We need to do more of that.
We probably should share a little bit more about you, but no, I want to ask you.
Yeah, go on.
Why do you write?
Oh, well, I have to say, I've given this thought a lot, because when I was little, typical little kid, I wrote to tell stories that I could tell other people, because no one listened to me. So I was the talker. I could talk a mile a minute. I would fill every room that I was in. Everyone had to listen to me. And if they didn't, I was very offended by it. I liked to be the center of attention. It's like, it's all about me. It's all about me. And as you grow up, you kind of realize it's not all about you. And I would slowly come to terms with the fact that mum and dad were not readers. Mum and dad were not storytellers. They were not really listeners. And I really wanted to communicate.
That must have been hard to be in that family.
I wanted to be heard. I was the kid that went down to the hairdressers on her own at 7 because mum said no, and I wanted to get my hair cut.
Wow.
So I was that kid. I was that horrible, horrible oldest child that believed that I was already an adult, even when I was tiny.
At 7.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it might have been 9. It was either 7 or 9. It was before 10, definitely before 10. And the hairdressers was only down the road, so it wasn't too bad. It was like a smaller country town, so it was just walking down the road. But yeah, mum tells me that story that I was off I went.
Yeah. I'm getting my hair cut.
Yep. And I think that's what it was. It was because I did a lot of reading at my grandparents' place, and was always books. Nan and Papa would always take us to the library. I had books galore at home. Every chance I got, I was either at the library or getting books. So it was all this need to communicate clashing with my love of books. And I think that just meshed together. And of course, back in those days also, it was before technology. The internet was only just beginning. No, that was really in my teens. So it was even before the internet, or right at the cusp of, or the very, very early days of it. And so I was writing books with friends at school. So we'd write radio plays, we'd write choose your own adventure stories, we'd write Doctor Who stories, only the Doctor was a girl, which had I been a couple of years ago, I was ecstatic. It was brilliant. I was so happy. But we were writing those Doctor Who books way back in the day. So that was, it probably all came across with that just being intermeshed with, I want people to listen to me. And so I will write a story and you'll have to read it. Not knowing that, no, they don't have to read it. So that's come to me over time as well. But yeah, and so I was writing books with various friends. I always said that my friends were way smarter than me. I hung around with all the really smart people. So their ideas and focus and tenacity and determination, I picked up on those elements from them because they were focused. Oh, we're going to write a book. Okay. And they focused and pushed me to actually concentrate because I'm probably slightly I'm probably slightly hyperactive in that need to be doing it, but it should have already been done, so it's fine.
Mhm.
Slow down. So yes, it was very much a learn a bit from them, learn a bit from all the book. I was a voracious reader. I read 10, 15 books a week. Like I was going to the library, piling on the books. I was sitting by myself in the corner. Sister and brother hated me because I never wanted to play with them. I was still like, I'll read to you. Yeah, I was that sister. I'll read
Yeah.
to you. So yeah, it that was probably where it all coalesced in my teens. I ended up having a school group that were very nerdy, very nerdy. Why we never got into D&D, I will never understand because now I'm into D&D and I'm like, that was us. But we weren't playing the game. We
Yep.
were in the headspace though,
Yes. Yeah.
because we would sit there and we'd come up with wild sci-fi ideas or what ifs, what if this, what if that, and we'd just sit in a room, park ourselves in there for lunch and just talk rubbish. Sure, it was rubbish. It would have been rubbish. A lot of
No.
Star Trek, lot of Star Wars. It was a lot of everything. I had one particular mate who he cracks me up to this day. The brain on him is insane, and his conceptual thinking when it comes to science fiction is phenomenal. And he will take an idea and just riff with it in a very what is it with the comedians that just jump into a topic and
Improv.
Improv. Yes, he was brilliant at that sort of thing where he would just take a sci-fi idea and for the hour that we were sitting there at lunchtime, just improv the most amazing worlds and crazy ideas and characters and story ideas. And oh, it was a lot of fun. So from that little group that I had, my little cool group, we had the brainy one, we had the one that ended up the lawyer, and then we had my mate who was just crazy, and then there was me. So it was a good group, but we came up with so many ideas. And so when I decided to write my first novel, when I decided to write my novel, it just sort of kicked off from there, I think.
Yeah. So when was that?
Well, I was 17. So a long time ago. Year 11 was when I started writing it. So yeah, and then I finished it in that year. And then it like went into a bottom drawer somewhere for years and years, years, never did anything with it. And it was only I was talking with a friend on the phone and she was talking about books and she's like, why have you never done anything? I'm like, I don't know. Huh, I don't know. Maybe I should. And so it sort of, at that point, pulled it out of a drawer and reread it and thought, there's something here. It's shit, but there's something here. And then a bit like yourself, went through the whole, okay, I'll try and edit it and fix it up. I'm not the brainy one. I'm not good with grammar. I'll have to find someone to help me with that. And did some workshops, bit the same, and started learning the process. And then with that book, I had started writing the second book by that stage while I was editing that one. And I sent the first book off to a manuscript assessor and got that assessment back. And for anyone who's received an edit letter in their life before, you'll completely relate to this. But you get that edit letter back and it's like 7 pages. And you start reading it and you burst into tears. And because it's all the things that
are wrong, which you've asked them to point out to you.
Which is what you want to know. Absolutely. And it's getting into that mindset of going, no, I did ask for what to fix. You've pointed out what to fix. Okay. For me, it always takes a read the edit letter, put it aside, have a cry, have a bottle of wine, have some chocolate. A week later, come back to the edit letter and then get stuck in.
Yeah.
But with this was my first ever edit letter. But it was also because it was an assessment. I got the comment, and I will not forget it. I got the comment back, you will never be a writer as a job.
What?
Mm,
That is dreadful.
yeah.
I
Oh,
mean, I
yeah.
don't care how long ago that was. That is absolutely dreadful.
Yeah. So that was a big kick in the pants. Everything went to the side, just put away for a while. Eventually, my need to write overruled that because I've always been that short story writer. I've always written little snippets, and I had a live journal. This is back in the live journal days. Had live journals, so I was doing little snippets and pieces and flash fiction. Always did a bit of that. I never stopped doing that. But yeah, eventually I pulled that back out, and I'm like, okay, putting that comment to the side. Screw you, buddy. I'm going to get published. And went in from there with more workshops, more writing, finished my second book, which was the first book was Whitefire. Second book was Blood Fever. It was written in my mid-20s. I'd been to London, came back from London, started writing it when I got back from London. And then again, still didn't really do anything with it. 6 or 7 years later, was in a job where I hated the job, liked my boss, hated the job, and the job was getting quieter. So I kind of didn't have as much to do at that point in time. So I started, and I was living on my own. So I had more time. It was quiet, didn't have any
Distractions.
interest in boyfriends or anything like that. I just was doing my thing. I was learning myself. I was learning all about myself and what I liked,
Yeah. Yep.
which took a while. It was a
Yes.
long period of time.
Yeah.
But while I was doing that, I was also writing my young adult because, I was writing my version of a Harry Potter that was not J.K. Rowling because I don't need to go into that,
No.
but loved Harry Potter. So yeah, magic, kids, detectives, because of course I was the big detective, Nancy Drew, Hardy Boys, Trixie Belden, which
Oh,
was a
Trixie
big one.
Belden.
Oh, yeah, she was my fave. Plus the Famous Five, The Secret Set. Like I was
Yeah.
churning through those books. You could churn through 2 or 3 a week. It was
Oh,
great,
easy.
and you'd go to the
Easy.
library and just stock them up.
Yeah.
So of course I went through all of that stage. So I had the detective teenager with magic, and Butterfly Stone came about.
Yes.
And that one, I'd done a bit of work by that stage on the whole writing thing. And I'd done the workshops with the other 2 books, and I'd gone through the plotting process and the breakdown and the pulling apart and all of that sort of thing. So yeah, the Butterfly Stone was really the proper book that I wrote with the intention of querying, sending it out, and then took on board that whole process of querying, which took forever. So that's
How
probably a
long was
really
forever?
long answer to your
No, but
simple
that's
question of where
good.
did it begin?
Yeah. So just you still chose, it feels
Mm,
like having that community around you gave you permission to be
mm,
creative
yeah, yeah.
and really
And I
seeded it.
think the flash fiction, because I have a need to have that audience.
Yeah.
I know that about myself. I need to have an audience. I need to have someone to have read it and gone, oh, that's so good. Write another one. Okay. Uh, that's all it takes. But yeah, so I think I'd moved to my WordPress blog by that stage. And so, yeah, I was getting some feedback on bits and pieces that I was doing. And like, this is early days of the internet. So
Mm,
dial-up days,
mm,
early community blogs where
mhm.
it was a notice board kind of blogs where you would post up a story at so early Twitter, really early Twitter. You'd post up your story, you'd get a whole bunch of readers that had read them and commented on it, and then you'd post up chapter 2 and you'd get another lot of, and it was like thrilling. Nowadays it's fan fiction,
Mm.
and there are some great fan fiction sites, and I'm still obsessed with fan fiction. It's That's my guilty pleasure. I love if I need a relaxing couple of hours to not think and just enjoy,
Yeah.
that's where I go. That's my go-to.
Right.
It's particularly the naughty fan fiction.
Ah.
It's great. But because I started with fan fiction, I was
Yeah.
writing my version of an ending or my version of a character's story, or oh, they cancelled Star Trek after 3 seasons. This is how old I am. So I want more stories. I want more Captain Kirk. I want more Star Wars, because back then there were only 3 movies.
Yes.
So you would write those stories yourself.
Yeah.
And I think it's that instant gratification. It's the
Mm-hmm.
instant feedback
Mm-hmm.
that I would get a thrill out of. And then again, that obliger personality, like you were just saying, that I have to do chapter 2. Oh, I have to get chapter 3. They're
They're
wanting
waiting
chapter
for
3.
me.
I have
Yeah.
to get chapter 3 up. So yeah, it was very, very much that whole process of going through doing what I do when it comes to the books. And even now, it's like, so I've been working on book 5 of my Stone series. And there is a bit of that obliger still sitting there. It's like, I've got to finish it. I've got to get book 5 done. I've got to finish it. Got to get that out for the readers. I've got to get it finished. It's that sort of thing where it's probably, I say possibly because I'm in the 9th edit. So it's
Yep.
probably lost a bit of its sheen, a little bit of its sheen at the moment. But I love the way it's ended as well. And I think for me, it's come together beautifully. And I'm
Yeah.
like, such a good ending. But yeah, there's also that, oh, I'm so tired. Why am I doing this again? And, let's not talk about sales for indie writers.
No, no, that is definitely a conversation for another day.
Yeah.
So what feeds, because
Mm.
one of the many things that I admire about you, not only the volume of work that you put out, but the variety, the
Mhm.
eclectic nature of your characters, the storylines, the worlds that you build around them. So what feeds your imagination?
I was thinking about this earlier actually, because I was writing a list of the influences.
Mm,
So, not Instagram, because obviously it was before the internet.
yes.
But all the triggers and things, and I do think it was just the voracious reading. Like I
Yeah.
read so much, it's hard even to put up a price tag of all the book. I've got 3 libraries in my house that are full of books. And they're all a wide variety as well. So I have romances, I've got science fiction, I've got a heap of fantasy. I've got all classics. So I actually through uni I did classical literature, which was fun. Bit deep at times, but fun. But I love my Pride and Prejudice, love my Frankensteins, love my Dr. Jekyll and Hydes, and I think that also that's probably it. It's a bit of everything, and because
Mhm.
I've read a bit of everything and I've loved a bit of everything, that just goes into a need to create a bit of everything. It's my brain can go anywhere with the various stories, and I think that's possibly where some of the trouble lies, if I can put it that way, with Boss from Hell, for example. I call it a genre mash.
Mm,
And it really is. It's a supernatural. It's a supernatural contemporary fantasy with horror and comedic elements.
mm. Yeah.
And it is a complete mash of it's a mash of genres, it's a mash of styles, but it still has that formulaic mystery to it with
Yeah.
the murder mystery of the story.
Yes.
But I don't think I could write without an element of sci-fi or fantasy slipping in. And so I was thinking about the various influences I had, and I was thinking the first cartoons I was really watching was Astro Boy.
Astro
Astro Boy. Astro Boy. So there's the sci-fi, Doctor Who, and Batman, the 66 version with Adam West.
Mm-hmm.
Heavy, heavy fantasy, heavy sci-fi, heavy fantastical sci-fi. It I think it's all of those mixes. And then as I was getting on, I was reading things like I read more beyond my age than I should have. Don't know why, because it was scaring the bejesus out of me, but the Triffids. I moved on
Oh,
to
love John Wyndham.
and the Time Machine and Journey to the Center of the Earth, because of course my local library only had men's classical literature. I
Of
barely
course.
had anything fun apart from Nancy Drew and Hardy Boys. God, the kids section was nowadays it's so much better. But back
Yes.
then,
Yeah.
so yeah, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Frankenstein, War of the Worlds, Triffids, Wrinkle in Time. Like I was again, a little bit of everything. So a little bit of comedy, a little bit of horror, a little bit of sci-fi. And same with the TV shows that I was watching and even even down to the documentaries that I watch now. Like I'll get on Netflix and just, half asleep, flick through every channel I can find, and I end up finding some bizarre stuff. And I've found that even the bizarre stuff gives great sci-fi triggers and
Mm.
fantasy triggers
Hmm. Hmm.
because, stories about Bigfoot or the Mothman or Jack the Ripper, like all these stories. It's stories.
Yeah.
That's what gets me. It's the story.
Mm.
And I've often told Jerry at at school because he's a teacher, but I keep saying to him, if you want to get really good traction from the kids, it's about the story. It's about the story that you tell rather than just the go to woe, go to woe. It's building that into a story that can get you there. And I think I've always felt that with all my crazy, like I can go down some crazy rabbit holes. There is some terrific, not full on conspiracy shows, but like, okay, no, they are completely loony fringe. Yeah. Ancient Aliens, right? Have you
Ancient
watched
aliens.
this? Oh
No.
my God. Okay. National Geographic.
Yeah.
There is a show called Ancient Aliens, and it's basically these guys who fully believe, and I've come to fall into that line, depending on the episode,
Mhm.
that all of like the pyramids and all of the greatest
Not
wonders of
Eric
the
von
world and everything.
Daniken, is it?
Well, I think he's one of them.
Yeah.
It's one of them. Anyway,
It's been
but
around for a
like
while.
it's completely madcap, and I
Yeah.
love it so much because you can just drift off in the middle of it and then wake up with the most amazing sci-fi ideas because it's did aliens arrive here before we did? Were we seeded by aliens? Were we created by aliens? Were we transplanted by aliens? All these awesome concepts, but when you break them down from a science fiction point of view, oh, the what ifs are magnificent. Oh, they can send you down so many great rabbit holes. It's like, wow. Because that's the concept with Stargate, with the TV show Stargate and the movie and the book,
Yes.
that, aliens came here first and the pyramids were for their spaceships and for charging their spaceships and all that sort of stuff. And great shows, great shows. But gee, you can come up with all sorts of what ifs.
Mm.
I think that's what I like about it. It's the what ifs.
The what ifs. Yeah.
Mm,
And you, yeah, there are so many out there. There's not
mm,
what do they say? There's only 7 stories or something.
yeah.
Tell me,
Mm,
if you go to bed tonight,
mm.
a miracle happens, or the fairy waves magic wand, or you fall through a portal, whatever that is,
More
and you
likely.
wake up
Yeah.
in the morning
Mm,
and your life
hmm
is everything you wanted it to be, what would
I'd still
you
be
be
doing the same.
doing?
Well, probably not the admin because that would go in a heartbeat. Although
So
I've
yeah,
learned a
what would
lot
you?
through doing that. So,
Yes,
I've
yeah,
learned.
yeah,
But it would be writing. It'd be writing books. 100%. Yeah, I would
books.
absolutely be doing
It
that
would it
full
would still
time.
be fiction. You
Would
wouldn't branch
definitely be
into
fiction.
screenplay. No, it would still be fiction.
Well, I think ultimately it would still be fiction.
Yeah.
Um, but I would then have time to do all the ADHD stuff that I would love to do, which is the voiceovers, the narrations, the screenplays, the theatre play, like something. I need to learn. I do something new every year. It's at the moment it's Dungeons and Dragons, but I'm going to be on that kick for a little while,
Woohoo.
which is great. But it's the storytelling.
Yes.
So however I can tell the story is how I'll tell the story,
Yeah.
whether it's through role-playing games, whether it's through narration, voice. Honestly, I wrote radio plays when I was a kid. The I would I would love to get into voice acting. Like that would be so much fun. I'd love to do a voice for a cartoon. But same with just narrating my own stories and getting them out in audiobooks. I'd love to do that. I don't have the time, but I would love to do that. And so there's so many I'm writing a screenplay. Well, we've started drafting a screenplay with a mate of mine who's a connection through theatre, my local theatre company. Because I did the whole acting thing. I did the thing on stage and realized I was terrible and would never do that again. But the behind the scenes stuff I love.
Okay.
So the stage, I did a bit of stage directing. I did a bit of stage managing. I did a little bit of assistant directing, which was fun. So yeah, I do done so many little things. I've just done a bit of
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
So just about to
Just like a
continue in that
kaleidoscope, like
creative.
a
It is.
cornucopia is
Mm,
what you have. You've got the full
mm.
bonnet full of everything.
Yeah, I've done so much of the theatre and just hung around with my local theatre company so long that I think some of that's soaked in as well. And being able to boss people around up on stage, that was fun. I had a night where I got to do that. That was awesome.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I've done a little bit of everything. As long as it's creative and it's storytelling in some way, I think I would
that
still be a
works for you.
storyteller. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. They might not be good stories, but I'd still be a storyteller. Re
It's
rereading draft 9 of book 5, I
yeah.
sometimes wonder. I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah, well, when you're on draft night of 156,000 words, I completely understand that it
Yeah,
just sometimes you need to step away from it a while.
yeah.
Um, so tell me,
Mm.
how does writing make you feel?
Depends on when I'm doing it, to be honest. Because if I'm in the middle of an edit, well, it depends on how the edit's going. While I'm writing itself, I don't think I'm really observant of what I'm feeling. I just write.
So
That
you're
sounds
in you're
sounds
in
bizarre. I'm
flow?
in the zone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're in
I
flow.
think so. I think I'm in the zone. Um, yeah, I whereas it's more that right brain, left brain stuff. So it's more
Mhm.
the editing brain, and then you are thinking about what you're doing. And of course, because you're in the editing brain, you're seeing everything that's wrong. You're like, this is dreadful. This is horrible. What was I thinking? Why have I got a note saying make this better? So
Thanks, past Laurie.
that's
Thanks a lot.
brilliant. Good work. Yeah, so I think whereas while I'm actually doing the writing itself, I'm if as long as I'm not blocking myself with a bit of writer's block with I've written the wrong idea and it's gone into a dead end hole and I can't get out of it and I have to backtrack and get myself back in the zone. And yeah, I think for me, because I'm very much a pantser, it's very much the story comes to me as I'm going.
Mm.
And I don't think I really feel it. It's just right. I just write and it feels right and I'm just doing my thing. It's only when you kick in that analytical brain that you think, oh no, this is good.
Mm.
I'm smarter than I thought. This is good. Okay. Okay.
Oh, actually, yeah.
How did
It's
I
happening.
do that? That's awesome. Love that idea. Um,
Uh,
but yeah, so and then I'll think about it afterwards and of course, yeah, it depends on the time frame and like I love the books that I've got out and I love being able to talk about them to people. But when I'm tired or when I'm at work or whatever, the idea of it is just exhausting.
yeah.
And it's like
All right. So you've
so
got
tell me, just
book 5 of the gems
flip
gone.
that one back to you.
Yeah, yeah.
How do you feel?
I feel satisfied
Yeah?
when I'm in the flow, same as
Mm-hmm.
you. You kind
Mm-hmm.
of the time goes and it is all of the things have lined up and your
Yep.
conscious brain has stepped aside and your
Mm-hmm.
subconscious is just pouring it out, which is fantastic.
Yep.
And I find that if I let that happen, I feel
Mhm.
so satisfied.
Mm.
And I can look at a chunk and go, oh, I've just
Yeah.
filled that page, or
Yeah.
I've just
It
done
feels
that.
right.
It,
Yep.
it feels right. And
Mm.
there is a sense of the creation. I love the
Yeah.
creation.
Yeah.
And I like to see the creativity in any way, shape, or form, and whether that is that chunk of work or whether that's
Mm.
a program I put together or whatever that might be. But the most satisfying is to create a story out of nothing and to see
Yes.
it pour out on the page and to go, I did that.
I think that's why I have such issues with AI, because that is missing. And you can tell that that passion is missing. It's non-existent. It's a
Yeah,
combobulation of a whole range of other people's work. There's no
yeah.
heart to it.
It's not the same as you've just explained. All of the
Yep.
things you've done in your life, all of the experiences, all the
Yeah.
choices, all the learning, all
Mm.
the conversations, every decision
Yeah.
has brought you to the moment where you are the filter.
Yeah.
You and your life are the filter for those words
Yeah.
delivering onto the page.
Mm.
That can't be captured by
Yeah. You can't fake it.
AI.
No.
No.
No,
And it
absolutely.
is
And the same with, oh,
totally
here's the
unique.
idea. Here's an idea. Here's the execution. But it's the sweat and the pain and the stupidity sometimes of getting yourself into that and creating that. I imagine artists feel the same way in when they're getting just the paint down on canvas, or building with clay, or whatever creative outlet that you have, that you've created it. It has come from your hands, your sweat, your tears. It's you. It is you. And I think that's why the edit letter hurts so much for all of us when we get it.
Mm, mm.
Because even if it's a story and it's not based on our lives, and no, 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 it's got nothing to do with me in there. Yes, it does. Every time it does. No, totally not me. It it's something you've made is wrong. It can be fixed. It can be tweaked. It can be made better. But that first edit letter, as we were saying before, you get that back, and it's everything that is wrong with what you have created. So why am I doing this? And but it wouldn't hurt like that if it was some computers done it. And I mean, I'm into sci-fi. I love a good sci-fi. I have robots galore in all of my stories. But that is missing from AI creation. It's not creation, it's rebuilding. It's got nothing to do with creation whatsoever. And it's what we go through as writers and creatives and artists and all of that sort of stuff that makes it, gives it that heart,
Yeah.
I guess.
And creates that unique voice because
Mm,
nobody else,
mm,
even if you were telling the same story, and I've seen this happen over and over, you give
mm,
people a Friday Fictioneer prompt or something like that,
mm.
and the
Yep.
variety of
Yes. Oh, it's
interpretations
incredible.
is incredible.
Yeah, I've
Mm.
been doing those prompt responses for years, and the community with that. Exactly. So I've communicated with these writers through their 100 words and my 100 words. We all comment on each other for years now. And so I know how this particular writer is going to respond to something that I've written, and I know how this person's going to comment, and I know what their work is going to be, and it's going to be amazing. And oh, there'll be a tweak on this. This will be fantastic to read. It's yeah, it's so various, and
Mm.
everyone sees the same thing differently. So it's amazing that we can create what we do sometimes. And to be fair, I've created some trash. Like there's a lot. There's some pretty awful stuff out there. But and sometimes the stuff I write, I think, oh, this is brilliant. I barely get any commentary. And then sometimes I'll just bang something together and I'll get so many comments, and I'll think, why?
Yeah.
Why? How does
You
that
just never
happen?
know. You just
Yeah.
never know.
And you
Yeah.
don't. And I think that's the thing with books and with writing as well. It's like you
Yeah.
don't know how it's going to be received.
Mm.
And what you think is amazing might not be. And what you
Hmm.
didn't think was amazing might be amazingly received. And you can't, in the early days of querying, I got to learn the term subjective really well. Because on every single rejection query letter you get, there's a comment along the lines of, but don't lose heart. Everything is subjective. What is not right for me might be right for the next person. And there's some version of that on every single query rejection, and every single person gets those comments. And it's the same with reviews, with book reviews. Oh, yeah, I didn't think this was that great. Oh, thanks. That's sweet. That's great. But then the next review you read, it's gushing, and you think,
did you read the same book, people?
yeah. And you think, well, you know what? I'm writing for that person.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that person, but I'm writing for you. So yeah, I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
And that's why when it feels right, I think.
Yeah. That's good.
The heart's
what's after? So you've got book 5 of the gems will be done.
Yep, my stones of power.
Stones of power, thank you.
Yes.
And you've got Whitefire, and you've got the good, the bad, and
the Undecided, which I loved. My editor came up with that. Freaking genius. Oh my God, I was like basically bowing at her email. It was magnificent. Like you are the best. Do you know Whitefire started as multi point of view?
Right.
And through various workshops and various edits, it was like, why don't you try writing it all from one point of view? Well, if I do that, I'm going to have to cut out all these mini chapters, but I'm not going to get rid of them. I'm just going to put them over here. And then I focused on putting this all as one point of view. It's like, oh yeah, no, actually that works. I'm really getting into the character. I'm really getting into a story. That's fantastic. And I'm like, but there's all this stuff. It was awesome. And part of me still bounces between, should I have kept it multi-point of view? Should I have kept it all in the one book? Would have been huge, but should I have kept it? That's how it was originally written. It was written as a multi-point of view. Very, very long, very Star Warsy. And yeah, so that I just grabbed all of those bits, and they were all mini stories of their own right that have been scattered throughout the book. And so when I brought them together, they were basically mini stories themselves. Took a little bit of extra work to flesh them out, but yeah, basically everyone's individual story popped out in that one. So that's why there's the mini additional feature, as I like to put it,
which is good.
My little anthology, which is great. So it's only tiny. It's great. Yeah. Hang on. There we go. Yeah. But yeah, so because of that, because of Whitefire, I do have book 2 written.
Which is really good. Talk about hanging it on me for Soul Star.
Oh, no, it's written. It's written. I haven't even done the first edit.
Okay.
I'm terrified to do the first edit.
What does next year look like for you?
Probably editing that book. Yeah. Probably editing that book, because once I get the stones done, I do have another young adult. I'm still pitching that one. Middle grady young adult. That's got dragons.
Ooh,
it's really cool.
Love dragons.
But that one's sort of, I'm just throwing it out there. It's another one on the giant list of when you're querying. It takes years. So while you're doing that, do something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is good advice. Good advice.
Yeah. So that's it. That's book 2. I'll be working on that next year. And then I do have an inkling of an idea for Boss from Hell 2, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
I love those characters.
Depends on how busy I am. I am writing a screenplay at the moment with my mate. So that's very sci-fi. So that will be very cool if that comes together. It depends. Our availability is both terrible at the moment. So we're working on it, but it's in the background.
It's good. Plenty to do. Yes.
Too much to do.
And I think I'm going to keep you a bit busy doing a few things which shall remain nameless until we get them sorted out, because we don't overpromise, underdeliver.
No, and because we keep saying yes to things, that's likely to happen.
Damn obliges. I've got some quotes for you. I don't know if you get the quotes, but I have some writing quotes.
I do.
All right. Here's one from Anne Lamott, who, of course, wrote Bird by Bird.
Yes.
A great writing book. Writing has so much to give, so much to teach, so many surprises. the thing that you had to force yourself to do, the actual act of writing, turns out to be the best part.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
in a way, it's the shortest part. You know, you
Yes.
six to
Oh,
eight
no.
weeks, or in my case, 6 months, and then
Yes.
you spend a
And
year
then
and a half editing, and
exactly.
then a year and a half
Ah,
querying,
yeah.
and oh,
Yeah.
anyway, sorry.
All right. Give
That's
me your
a
quote.
cool one. All right,
It's a good
so
quote.
I've gone science fiction-y. Where are we? Oh, there we go. No, yes, no. I did have one in front of me that was great. Hang on. Oh, there we go. A journey is a person in itself. No two are alike, which fits with what we were talking about. And
Yes.
all plans, safeguards, policing, and coercion are fruitless. We find that after years of struggle, that we do not take a trip takes us. So that's
Mm.
John Steinbeck, that one. But I
Nice.
liked that one because that way back at the start of us gossiping and chatting together, we were talking about the fact that you had to let go of the plot and listen to your characters.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's probably what I learned through all of it. It's
Yeah.
following, if you follow the character, you're less likely to get yourself into those dead zones, the writer's block, the because you're trying to hit a mark that you're nowhere near, or I need to get to here, but my character's over here. And I think it's when I relaxed more and followed the character's story and let her tell it,
Mm.
then the story flows. And
Yes.
then there's that. I don't think I've ever told you about the time that I got told my books have no voice.
Oh.
This was again pre-publishing days. Oh yeah. I've had some great look, people,
Oh, lordy, wordy,
if you
people.
want some
Oh,
great
I,
how to live with rejection tips, I've got some beautiful stories for you. But
has
yeah,
anybody actually read your books? Because the voice in
swear to God.
your, oh, seriously, the
Honestly,
voice is
I know,
so
yeah.
sweet, so
That was
unique.
another comment that stayed with me in the early days. And you know, you get these negative comments when you're just starting out and you think, why the crap am I doing this? It shows that the internal motivation was far stronger than the outward output, if
Yes,
that makes sense.
yes, yes. Good
Yeah, I've
gosh.
been told some horrible things, so bring it on.
Bring
Um,
it on. All right. Well, let me give you a one by Ray Bradbury then.
all right, go.
You fail only if you stop writing. I think that's perfectly
Yeah, and
exactly what you
that's a
just said.
great spot for the end of our chat too.
I
That
think so.
yes, I agree with that because when you get that edit letter back and you go, oh, it's shit, I'm not doing it anymore. For me, it'll take a week or two, but I will get back into it because it's my writing and it's my work and I need to do it.
Yeah,
And people telling me there's no voice can go jump off a cliff.
exactly. Very politely.
Very politely.
Long
Yes.
walk off a short pier.
Oh, look, I think ultimately my nana's was the best comment,
Yeah.
which was, it's all right, Laurie. Sometimes people just don't like to read that sort of stuff. Thanks, Nana. Thanks, Nana.
Great.
I mean, she was talking from the heart, and she was like, "It's
Yep.
okay. Some people don't like, everyone reads different things." Was what
Yes.
I think she
He was
meant
trying
to
to say
say.
yes. So was
Yes.
just wasn't for them.
Yeah. Well, she was a romance reader. I
Yeah.
was a science fiction writer.
Uh-huh.
I get where she was coming from.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But when your nana comes up with that comment and then you get these other comments from assessors, it's like they don't, I've got such a low bar. They really don't have to go far.
No, no. But they were not the right people to read your books because I
No,
love
thank you.
all the voices in your
Thank
stories
you.
are so unique.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I
Yeah.
love it when I get little comments from kiddies that are, oh, this was so good. What's the next stone gonna be?
Yeah.
So, that's what keeps me going genuinely.
Yes.
It's that enthusiastic response. It's the readers
Yeah.
like yourself
Mm.
and like some of my other regular readers who've read I can't believe they've read everything, but they've read everything and getting those comments. I think you probably feel the same way. It's like that's why you keep doing it.
That is,
It's like,
yeah.
you know what? I've connected with that person.
Yes.
I've been able to tell them a story.
Yeah.
That's what gets me through.
Yeah. Yeah.
But honestly, if you get really bad comments, it's okay. Join the club.
Yeah.
hit me up on social media. Tell me your terrible stories
Yes.
because I need to feel better about myself.
Ah, yeah. One of the worst
Oy.
reviews I got was for dear Chickabella.
Oh, tell me a
I
good review to end up on, please.
Yes, a good one. Well, no, this is a bad one
Oh,
where
even better.
I
Go for it.
yeah. So Chickabella and the Rainbow Magic. So this is a series that I wrote originally. My older sister, as
Chickabella.
my mum died from breast cancer,
Mhm.
but there are some people in the like you are the storyteller. Well, my older sister was the storyteller, but the oral storyteller, not the written storyteller. She was a kindergarten teacher, then she moved into the Department of Education, but she had 4 children of her own and was the mother for everybody. She was just a beautiful soul. And I just, again, there's a little voice that said, you know what, you got to write a story for Mary. And I love my chickens. And one of the chickens that I called Chickabella, and the dedication is for Mary, who told the best stories. So my daughter and I wrote it, Chickabella and the Rainbow Magic, so it's a fantasy. We wrote it for early readers so that the kids, as they were at the time, could read it or have it read to them, because that, for
Lovely.
me, I love
Yeah, it's the sharing stories.
the
It's
sharing
being able to
stories.
tell a story.
Yeah.
Yep.
We wanted to make it as diverse as possible, so we chose names for the chickens from every country we could think of. We then let those chickens tell us what they wanted to be. So, one, we said Chickabella was tired of minding her 7 pesky siblings. And so she asked them what did they want to be, because she pinched her mother's magic wand, you see. What do you want to be when you grow up? So little Wren wanted to be a fire engine and go fast and ring the bell. Wheel, wheel, wheel. And little Bennett wanted to be a blue ocean so that they could laze around all day. Then I thought, oh, well, look, I'll try, and all the neighbours loved it. The kids loved it. And that's fantastic. Especially little Harriet next door. She loved Chickabella.
Who wouldn't want to be a
Who
fire
wouldn't
engine?
want to be a fire
Oh,
engine?
I mean, my God.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I put it on one of those sites where you can ask people to have a review, look at the arcs and that kind of thing.
Yep.
And one American reviewer said she couldn't recommend this book because she's read a lot of children's books and this doesn't have a message. It's a basic concept book. It was teaching about colours.
Yeah, colours. I was going to say it's
yeah.
perfect for colour recognition.
But the names are very un-American, so she doesn't think it will go down in the market. And the chickens want to be things that nobody can be. They don't want to be a doctor or a lawyer. They want to be a fire engine or a flower or an ocean. Oh, and the ocean. She doesn't think oceans are lazy at all. She spent a lot of time at the beach and they are definitely not lazy. I thought, you just didn't get it. You didn't get it.
Well, you are not writing for her.
No,
you're writing for the kiddies that loved it. Yeah,
that's right. And sadly, the kids don't write reviews. However, then, like almost the very next day, I got an email from one of the clients that I work with over a number of years, and she'd had a little one, and I sent it Chickabella because she was gorgeous and she'd done been very helpful. She said, I just have to tell you that my daughter absolutely loves Chickabella and the Rainbow Magic, and she has told me that she wants to be a violet flower when she grows up, which is what one of the chickens is.
That's
and
gorgeous.
She just loves it. And I thought, you're who I'm writing.
Precisely right. It is all subjective. Wow. Yeah. There are reviews like that will pop
and I
up,
thought,
and you do read them on other people's books as well, and you do think, okay, not sure you were the target audience.
No. So this other person was definitely not the target audience.
Wow.
So the message is diversity.
I mean,
the
to be
message
fair,
is
she's
love,
not
but the message is
wrong in that you can't be a fire engine.
No,
I would love to be a fire
you cannot be a fire engine, but you can't be a butterfly if you're a chicken either. Nor can you be a sun and wake up.
Oh, I
And you
think that's
can't be a green frog.
beautiful.
But anyway, so
But
then
I can see the kiddies would adore.
yes,
And I know they adore because I've been giving them away to people.
yeah. Oh, which is
Yes.
lovely. Thank you. Yeah, and so then Chickabella counts to 10. We did a hiding one, and I try and make sort of 2 bits, and then Chickabella shapes up. She's got a little headband
Early
on.
years formation.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is
Those
early
are
years.
the
It's
those are the
basic
best
concepts
books. Yeah.
that little kids can understand, and they can pick the colours, and they can pick the shapes, and they can do the actions,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's
And that's all you want to do. You want to be
Yep.
running around doing the fire engine noise.
Exactly. So my niece has
Oh.
announced that she's expecting, and so I
Oh,
immediately,
congratulations.
thank you, I immediately went and ordered about $180 worth
Yep.
of books, which are the
Brilliant.
absolute essentials that she
Brilliant.
needs to have.
Yes.
So
There
she
are
needs
so
to
many.
have, she needs to have Possum Magic, she needs to have Harry McClary, she needs to have Welcome to
Oh.
Country, she needs to
Yep.
have, and I've just
Yep.
said, well,
Oh.
got to have those ones,
Mm.
and then we'll work on some others
Yep.
later.
Yeah,
But yeah.
that's brilliant. I love it. But yeah, so again, it is for those that are listening because they are starting out as writers or wanting to be writers or have a book sitting there that they're afraid to actually do anything with, because that 100% happens too.
Mm.
Do it.
Yeah.
Do it. Get it out there.
Just do it. Get it out
Yeah,
there. Yeah.
because it is all subjective. And yes, not as my nana says, not everyone will like what you will
Yes.
not like the topics that thanks Nana.
Thanks, Sandra. Yeah.
But there'll be reviewers that will go, but you can't do that because that's not how oceans work.
Yeah. I just feel a little sad for them. But anyway,
Yeah,
doing what they thought was a good job.
yeah.
But yeah,
it is a little bit. It's like, where's the imagination?
I know.
Imagination is
Yeah.
great.
Imagination's great. So
But that's
Chickabella,
why your books are
that's
so
that.
important, and that's why
They
my
are.
books are so important.
Absolutely.
They show what's possible and teach us about ourselves in different ways
Yeah.
and make us think and
Yep. Take time to dream. It hitches the soul
and make you
to the
laugh
stars.
when you've got an evil cat in a book that that it's fun.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to have a fun story too.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
It's
I
been
think we've
fabulous
waffled
chatting.
for a while.
I think we have waffled for a while. That's probably enough time to
It was
edit
great
and move
though.
on. It was good
Hopefully
just to
we
talk
haven't
about
bored
our
everyone.
things. Yeah, they can just skip this episode if
Yeah,
they need. But
fine.
that you never know. You might find a little gem somewhere in there. And don't
Yes.
forget, as you're approaching
Yes.
Christmas, that books are easy to wrap.
Yep.
Make an author's day and write them a review. But if you
or just
like
tell
it,
a person. Tell a person.
tell two
Oh, I
friends.
read this great book. You should totally read it.
Yes.
Love it.
Do that.
Yeah.
Support
Or,
Australian authors.
Kris Kringle presents are the best because you can just pick some random books that look amazing and wrap those up and have like a mystery book, like just wrap them so everything's hidden and have it as a mystery book pull and just oh.
Yeah.
Best
Sounds
kind of gifts
good.
are books.
Best kind of gifts. Yeah, you can buy me. That's if you only bought me books, I'd be really happy.
Yeah, same. It's like my nana was 95 and we were still taking her to the library and she was still taking a handful of books home each and every time. And my dad had a spreadsheet of all the books so that she wasn't doubling up just in case.
Yeah.
And it was like 300 lines of Excel spreadsheet. It was insane just to make sure that I haven't read this one. And
And away she goes.
Books
It's
are great
fantastic.
gifts. It's like
are.
if you give, I think for those that do read as a little Christmas thing, it gives a gift that's beyond just the book and beyond just that Christmas and that moment and that wish and that birthday treat or whatever. It does have the power to transform and to take you somewhere
Plant
else.
seeds and to educate or entertain or inspire. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, exactly. So, all righty.
Time to tell everybody our byline, which is, of course,
to
remember.
Oh, sorry, you went with remember. No. I'm like, what's on my shirt? Okay, hang on. There we go. All right.
Hashtag.
So, read
more Aussie books. Thanks, Laurie.
Thanks.
Bye for now.
Bye for now.
Let's meet again when magic happens.